Hello, welcome back to the channel where we all can learn and grow together. As you see, it's raining, so it's kind of hard to get out in the garden or get out and about to do anything out there. But despite all of that, we're going to do a gardening video anyways, because this is where I'm going to ask for help. So today's gardening video is on its way. Stay tuned. I want to start this video out with kind of a story. Probably my second or third year I was growing on my own, I got really kind of ambitious, I guess you would say, and I was still, which I still am, learning stuff about gardening, even though my grandfather taught me a lot growing up. But sometimes until you get out there and start doing it on your own and making a few mistakes here and there or finding room for improvement, sometimes just doing it out on your own when you gain your best knowledge, just by doing it and getting around people that knows a little bit more than you do and willing to accept advice. But I wanted to start like my tomato plants and bell peppers and stuff like that from seed, like I'm seeing so many beautiful channels out there doing it's in the gardening, being able to start it from seeds. So it's kind of, and I'm seeing so many techniques, it's like, man, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Wow, that's a good idea. And there's so many, it's hard to kind of pick and choose between the good ideas. But when I tried to start my seeds, I had a grow light and a little space I created in the room I was using at the time, and didn't know anything about starting anything from seeds. And I was so excited because I had these little solo cups that I was using, and I filled it with a compost type soil I got. It wasn't compost I did, because I wasn't doing compost at the time. And I started the seeds. Man, they popped up and everything, and planted them early enough to give them enough time to grow pretty big. And even my tomato plants, by the time I put them in the ground, was almost about that tall, probably at least 10 inches. They're definitely getting root bound in the solo cup, so it's definitely needing to go in the ground. And I spent the day planting those plants at that time, and planted them early morning. I don't know if it would have been better to plant them at night. I doubt it, because probably wasn't even 4 or 5 hours. All my plants that I spent a good month raising and growing, all my plants had burnt up because of the sun. And now I kind of laugh about it, but at the time I was just like, oh my goodness. And I had planted late, so I was almost worried about getting a garden out at that time. But I was able to get one out. But I had learned something valuable, is that when you take plants from a natural or artificial light and put it in natural light, it's two different types of light. And if you can imagine somebody going to a tanning bed for the first time, you can't really go for a long time, or you would burn up, pretty fast. So you need to gradually introduce yourself to tanning. But I just took them straight from artificial light out into regular sunlight. I didn't have an actual window or anything in that room, so they could get both natural sunlight and artificial, both, so they could go through, I guess what I've learned is a pre-hardening process, if that's a real term. But basically, by me not knowing this, pretty much set myself up for failure when I took the natural from artificial light to natural sunlight. So I'm starting to see people starting different versions of warm boxes, I believe you're calling them, or a hot box or something, and also some people's having greenhouses, which I don't have the room for here to do a greenhouse, which eventually when me and my wife get to a piece of land or somewhere bigger where I could do a greenhouse, I definitely want to do one. It's something I'm very interested in building myself. I'm wanting to come up with a very inexpensive way, because I'm kind of somebody on a budget, in which I could do a growing. Now, a channel that done something pretty cool was took styrofoam and also put mason jars over the top of it, and then if he needs to, uncover it or take it inside, and he has them in styrofoam cups and in a box, and he also built other little boxes that he could fit in the back of his truck. And the person who done that was Homegrown Country, which I think is a pretty cool idea. But I've seen so many other pretty cool ideas. It's kind of hard for me to pick and choose because they're all so cool. But I got an idea I'm kind of burning in my head, but I always like to weigh out the pros and cons to my ideas to see, if it'll work or not. And sometimes you gotta just try it to see if it's gonna work, or try just one here and there, and if it don't work, you can go back to the drawing board. But I also gotten to be introduced to so many bright folks and people that I know I can learn off of. I kind of want to put a question out, is what I'm wanting to do is pre-plant my seeds in the location that I'm wanting them to grow in, already in the ground. But since we still got the possibility of frost, I'm wanting to take a bucket. This won't be the bucket. This is only one I got for an example, but this bucket's had too many chemicals for me to use this bucket. But use a bucket like this, I'm gonna go buy food safe buckets that's rated for food, and I'm wanting to use it in a fashion where it's upside down, cut the top out where I could then lay a piece of fiberglass or regular glass on top, but where it's removable, because I don't want to take away the oxygen too bad. I want to be able to remove it when it's nice weather. And then around the bucket, I want to use some of my leaf compost, just like hay, to kind of insulate the bucket. But I'm worried about, one, is it going to take too much oxygen away from the plant and not allow it to grow? And two, will this idea keep the soil warm enough to germinate the seed? Because I know the seed has got to be, the soil's got to be at a certain temperature, warmth-wise, for the seed to germinate. So my other idea also is maybe to just use it this way, and maybe put solo cups in the bottom and use it in the same fashion, but where it could be inside when it's frosting, and then just replant these in the soil. Hope I explained that good enough. But I kind of like, without starting a bunch of arguments between people in the comment section, I kind of like to get your guys who's been there and done stuff like this advice, because the reason why I started this channel is not only so I could teach stuff, but also so I could learn a little bit more. So I'm willing to take some responses to this in the comment section. One, to see if my idea is a good idea, because I know where I could get some of these that's food safe, fairly cheap, real cheap, and so it won't hardly be that expensive for me. But one, is this a good idea? Two, is there things I could do to improve my idea, and also some pros and cons other than the ones I mentioned to this idea. So if you could leave those in the comment section, I would very much appreciate your feedback. And there is some ideas I'm going to try, but I would like to start trying to learn how to grow some of my stuff from seeds, because a lot of times I do go and buy a lot of my stuff from plants. So this gardening video is more of me asking you guys for your help and advice, and I really appreciate it in advance, and thank you for watching. And if you like my idea and you want to try it yourself, feel free to try it. And if you want to make a video on your channel trying this idea, and that way maybe other people could see how this works, then or if you've already done this idea and it's worked for you, I'd like to hear that too. So please, I will appreciate your advice in advance. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you are having a beautiful week. Thank you for watching.